So my name is Natasha and I work with Saskatoon Public Library. I'm joining you today for Grown-Up Storytime, and I'm joining you from my home, which is located on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. Today for Grown-Up Storytime, I'm going to read to you a short story out of this book, which is called The Last Wish, which is also the name of the short story that I'm going to be reading. So this is from the series called The Tales of the Witcher. There's a whole bunch of books. There's some full-length novels like this one. I believe there's 5 or 6 full-length novels. Yeah, well, one's technically a prequel, but there's a whole bunch of full-length novels. And then there's these 2 novels that are actually just short stories put together. So this one is just, again, 5 or 6 short stories following the Witcher character. And then this one is, again, a few short stories following the Witcher character, but this one's actually connected with a narrative that runs through it, kind of interspersing the short stories. So these were all written by Andrzej Sapkowski, and they were initially published in Polish, and then they've since been translated into a whole bunch of languages. They've been the inspiration for several video games, and there's also a series on Netflix, so they're really popular. Odds are you've at least heard of The Witcher, and maybe even read or seen or played part of the Witcher story. And yeah, I think it's a really cool fantasy novel. The world building is really detailed and complex. And yeah, without further ado, here is The Last Wish, which, if you happen to have this same copy, starts on page, I believe, here it is, 275. Yeah. So if you want to follow along, in this copy of the book here, published by Orbit, is The Last Wish, and it starts on page 275, and you'll notice some familiar characters. This is a really important kind of beginning tale for the Witcher series, so hearing this short story will give you a lot of kind of background information on the characters. The main characters in here are, of course, Geralt the Witcher, his friend Dandelion the poet, and then Yennefer the enchantress. So here we go. The catfish stuck its barbed head above the surface, tugged with force, splashed, stirred the water, and flashed its white belly. "Careful, Dandelion!" shouted the Witcher, digging his heels into the wet sand. "Hold him, damn it!" "I am holding him," groaned the poet. "Heavens, what a monster! It's a leviathan, not a fish. There'll be some good eating on that, dear gods." Loosen it, or the line will snap." The catfish clung to the bed and threw itself against the current toward the bend in the river. The line hissed as Dandelion and Gerald's gloves smoldered. "Pull, Gerald, pull! Don't lose it, or it'll get tangled up in the roots. The line will snap." "No, it won't. Pull!" They hunched up and pulled. The line cut the water with a hiss, vibrated, and scattered droplets with glistening like mercury in the rising sun. The catfish suddenly surfaced, set the water seething just below the surface, and the tension of the line eased. They quickly started to gather up the slack. "We'll smoke it," panted Dandelion. "We'll take it to the village and get it smoked, and we'll use the head for soup. Careful!" Feeling the shallows under its belly, the catfish threw half of its 12-foot-long body out of the water, tossed its head, whacked its flat tail, and took a sharp dive into the depths. Their gloves smoldered anew. "Pull, pull, to the bank, the son of a bitch! The line is creaking. Loosen it, Dandelion." "It'll hold, don't worry. We'll cook the head for soup." Oh, the catfish dragged near the bank again, surged and strained furiously against them, as if to let them know he wasn't that easy to get into the pot. The spray flew 6 feet into the air. "We'll sell the skin," Dandelion, red with effort, pulled the line with both hands. "And the barbels. We'll use the barbels to make—" Nobody ever found out what the poet was going to make from the catfish barbels. The line snapped with a crack, and both fishermen, losing their balance, fell onto the wet sand. "Bloody hell!" Dandelion yelled, so loud that the echo resounded through the osiers. "So much grub escaped. I hope you die, you son of a catfish." "I told you," Gerald shook his wet trousers. "I told you not to use force when you pull. You screwed up, my friend. You make as good a fisherman as a goat's arse makes a trumpet." "That's not true," the troubadour was outraged. "It's my doing that the monster took the bait in the first place." "Oh, really? You didn't lift a finger to help me," said the line. "You played the lute and hollered so the whole neighborhood could hear you, nothing more." You're wrong, Dandelion bared his teeth. When you fell asleep, you see, I took the grubs off the hook and attached a dead crow, which I'd found in the bushes. I wanted to see your face in the morning when you pulled the crow out, and the catfish took the crow. Your grubs would have caught shit all. They would have, the Witcher spat in the water, winding the line on the little wooden rake. But it snapped because you tugged like an idiot. Wind up the rest of the lines instead of gabbling. The sun's already up, it's time to go, I'm going to pack up. Gerald! What? There's something on the other line. 2. No, damn it, it only got caught. Hell, it's holding like a stone, I can't do it. Ah, that's it. Haha, look what I'm bringing in. It must be the wreck of a barge from King Desmond's time. What great stuff! Look, Gerald! Dandelion was clearly exaggerating. The clump of rotted ropes Ned and LJ pulled out of the water was impressive, but it was far from being the size of a barge, especially when dating from the days of the legendary king. The bard scattered the jumble over the bank and began to dig. Around it in with the tip of his shoe. The algae was alive with leeches, scuds, and little crabs. Hey, look what I've found! Gerald approached curious. The find was a chipped stoneware jar, something like a 2-handled amphora, tangled up in netting, black with rotten algae, colonies of caddis larvae, and snails dripping with stinking slime. Ha! Dandelion exclaimed again proudly. Do you know what this is? It's an old pot. You're wrong, declared the troubadour, scraping away shells and hard-shining clay. This is a charmed jar. There's a djinn inside who will fulfill my 3 wishes. The Witcher snorted. You can laugh, Dandelion finished his scraping, bent over and rinsed the amphora. But there's a seal on the spigot, and a wizard's mark on the seal. What mark? Let's see. Oh, sure, the poet hid the jar behind his back. And what more do you want? I'm the one who found it, and I need all the 3 wishes. Don't touch that seal. Leave it alone. Let go, I tell you. It's mine. Dandelion, be careful. Sure. Don't touch it. Oh, bloody hell. The jar fell to the sand during their scuffle, and luminous red smoke burst forth. The Witcher jumped back and rushed toward the camp for his sword. Dandelion, folding his arms across his chest, didn't move. The smoke pulsated and collected in an irregular sphere level with Dandelion's eyes. The sphere formed a 6-foot-wide, distorted head with no nose, enormous eyes, and a sort of beak. Djinn, said Dandelion, stamping his foot. I freed thee, and as of this day I am thy lord. My wishes... The head snapped its beak, which wasn't really a beak, but something in the shape of drooping, deformed, ever-changing lips. Run, yelled the Witcher. Run, Dandelion! My wishes, continued the poet, are as follows. Firstly, may Valdo Marx, the troubadour of Sidaris, die of apoplexy as soon as possible. Secondly, there's a court's daughter in Kelf called Virginia who refuses all advances. May she succumb to mine. Thirdly, no one ever found out Dandelion's 3rd wish. 2 monstrous paws emerged from the horrible head and grabbed the bard by the throat. Dandelion screeched. Gerald reached the head in 3 leaps, swiped his silver sword, and slashed it through the middle. The air howled, the head exhaled smoke, and rapidly doubled in diameter. The monstrous jaw, now almost much larger, flew open, snapped, and whistled. The paws pulled the struggling Dandelion around and crushed him to the ground. The Witcher crossed his fingers in the sign of Ard and threw as much energy as he could muster at the head. The energy materialized in a blinding beam, sliced through the glow surrounding the head, and hit its mark. The boom was so loud that it stabbed Gerald's ears, and the air sucked in by the implosion made the willows rustle. The roar of the monster was deafening as it grew, even larger, but it released the poet, soared up, circled, and waving its paws, flew away over the water. The Witcher rushed to pull Dandelion, who was lying motionless, away. At that moment, his fingers touched a round object buried in the sand. It was a brass seal decorated with the sign of a broken cross and a 9-pointed star. The head suspended above the water had become the size of a haystack, while the open, roaring jaws looked like the gates of an average-sized barn. Stretching out its paws, the monster attacked. Gerald, not having the least idea what to do, squeezed the seal in his fist, and extending his hand toward the assailant, screamed out the words of an exorcism a priestess had once taught him. He had never used those words until now, because in principle, he didn't believe in superstitions. The effect surpassed his expectations. The seal hissed and grew hot, burning his hand. The gigantic head froze in the air, suspended motionless above the river. It hung like that for a moment, and then at last it began to howl, roar, and disperse into a pulsating bundle of smoke, into a huge, whirling cloud. The cloud whined shrilly and whisked upstream with incredible speed, leaving a trail of churned up water on the surface. In a matter of seconds, it had disappeared into the distance. Only a dwindling howl lingered across the water. The Witcher rushed to the poet cowering on the sand. "Dandelion, are you dead? Dandelion! Damn it! What's the matter with you?" The poet jerked his head, shook his hands, and opened his mouth to scream. Gerald grimaced and narrowed his eyes. Dandelion had a trained, loud tenor voice, and when frightened could reach extraordinary registers. But what emerged from the bard's throat was barely audible, a hoarse croak. "Dandelion, what's the matter with you? Answer me!" "Are you in pain? What's the matter, Dandelion?" "Don't say anything. If everything's all right, nod." Dandelion grimaced and with a great difficulty nodded, and then immediately turned on his side, curled up, and choking and coughing, vomited blood. Gerald cursed. "By all the gods!" The guard stepped back and lowered the lantern. "What's the matter with him?" "Let us through, my good man," said the Witcher, quietly supporting Dandelion, who was huddled up in the saddle. "We're in great haste, as you can see." "I do." The guard swallowed, looking at the poet's pale face and chin covered in black, dried blood. "Wounded? It looks terrible, sir." "I'm in haste," repeated Gerald. "We've been traveling since dawn. Let us through, please." "We can't," said the other guard. "You're only allowed through between sunrise and sunset. None may pass at night. That's the order. There's no way through for anyone unless they've got a letter of safe conduct from the king or the mayor or their nobility with a coat of arms." Dandelion croaked, huddled up even more, resting his forehead on the horse's mane, shuddered, shook, and retched dryly. Another stream of blood trickled down the branched, dried pattern on his mount's neck. "My good man," Gerald said, as calmly as he could, "you can see for yourself how badly he fares. I have to find someone who can treat him. Let us through, please." "Don't ask." The guard leaned on his halberd. "Orders are orders. I'll go to the pillory if I let you through. They'll chase me from service, and then how will I feed my children?" "No, sir, I can't. Take your friend down from the horse and put him in the room in the barbican. We'll dress him, and he'll last out until dawn, if that's his fate. It's not long now." "A dressing's not enough." The Witcher ground his teeth. "We need a healer, a priest, a gifted doctor." "You wouldn't be waking up anyone like that at night anyway," said the second guard. "The most we can do is see that you don't have to camp out under the gate until dawn. It's warm in there, and there's somewhere to put your friend. He'll fare better there than in the saddle. Come, let us help you lower him from the horse." It was warm, stuffy, and cozy in the room within the barbican. A fire crackled merrily in the hearth, and behind it a cricket chirped fiercely. 3 men sat at the heavy square table, laid with jugs and plates. "Forgive us for disturbing you, squire," said the guard, holding Dandelion up. "I trust you won't mind. This one here is a knight, and the other one is wounded, so I thought—" "You thought well." One of the men turned his slender, sharp, expressive face toward them and got up. "Here, lay him down on the pallet." The man was an elf, like the other ones sitting at the table. Both, judging by their clothes, which were a typical mixture of human and elven fashion, were elves who had settled and integrated. The third man, who looked the eldest, was human, a knight judging by the way he was dressed and by his salt and pepper hair cut to fit beneath the helmet. "I'm Sheridan," the taller of the elves, with an expressive face, introduced himself. As was usual with representatives of the old people, it was difficult to guess his age. He could have been 20 or 120. "This is my cousin Erdil, and this nobleman is the knight Radimir." "A nobleman," muttered Gerald, but a closer look at the coat of arms embroidered on his tunic shattered his hopes. A shield divided per cross and bearing golden lilies was cut diagonally by a silver bar. Radimir was not only illegitimate, but came from a mixed human-non-human union. As a result, although he was entitled to use a coat of arms, he couldn't consider himself a true nobleman, and the privilege of crossing the city gate after dusk most certainly wasn't extended to him. Unfortunately, the Witcher's scrutiny did not escape the elf's attention. "We too have to remain here until dawn. The law knows no exceptions, at least not for the likes of us." "We invite you to join our company, Sir Knight." "Gerald de Rivia." The Witcher introduced himself. "A Witcher, not a knight." What's the matter with him? Sheridan indicated Dandelion, whom the guards had laid down on a pallet in the meantime. It looks like poisoning. If it is poisoning, then I can help. I've got some medicine with me. Gerald sat down, then quickly gave a guarded account of events at the river. The elves looked at each other, and the knight spat through his teeth and frowned. Extraordinary, Sheridan remarked. What could it have been? A gin in a bottle, muttered Vladimir, like a fairy tale. Not quite, Gerald indicated Dandelion, curled up on the pallet. I don't know any fairy tales that ends like this. That poor fellow's injuries, said Sheridan, are evidently of magical nature. I fear that my medicine will not be of much use, but I can at least lessen his suffering. Have you already given him a remedy, Gerald? A pain-killing elixir. Come and help me. You can hold his head up. Dandelion greedily drank the medicine, diluted with wine, choked on his last sip, wheezed, and covered the leather pillow with spittle. I know him, Erdal said. He's Dandelion, the troubadour and poet. I saw him singing at the court of King Ethan in Sedaris once. A troubadour, repeated Sheridan, looking at Gerald. That's bad, very bad. The muscles of his neck and throat are attacked. Changes in his vocal cords are starting to take place. The spell's action has to be halted as soon as possible, otherwise this might be irreversible. Does that mean he won't be able to talk? Talk, yes, maybe. Not sing. Gerald sat down at the table without saying a word and rested his forehead on his clenched fists. A wizard, said Vladimir. A magical remedy or curative spell is needed. You have to take him to some other town, Witcher. What? Gerald raised his head. And here in Rind? Isn't there a wizard here? Magicians are hard to come by in the whole of Redania, said the knight. Isn't that true? Ever since King Heribert placed an exorbitant tax on spells, magicians have boycotted the capital and those towns which are rigorous in executing the king's edicts. And the Councillor of Rind are famous for their zeal in this respect. Sheridan, Erdal, and am I right? You are, confirmed Erdal. But Sheridan, may I? You have to, said Sheridan, looking at the Witcher. There's no point in making a secret of it. Everyone knows anyway. There's a sorceress staying in town. Right now, Gerald. Incognito, no doubt. Not very, the elf smiled. The sorceress in question is something of an individualist. She's ignoring both the boycott imposed on the Rhine by the Council of Wizards and the disposition of the local councillors, and is doing rather splendidly out of it. The boycott means there's tremendous demand for magical services here, and of course, the sorceress isn't paying any levies. And the town council puts up with it? The sorceress is staying with a merchant, a trade broker for Novigrad, who is also the honorary ambassador. Nobody can touch her there. She has asylum. It's more like house arrest than asylum, corrected Erdal. She's just about imprisoned there, but she has no shortage of clients, rich clients. She's ostentatiously makes light of the councillors, holds balls, and extravagant parties. While the councillors are furious, turn whoever they can against her and tarnish her reputation as best they can, Sheridan cut in. They spread foul rumors about her and hope, no doubt, that the Novigrad hierarchy will forbid the merchant to grant her asylum. I don't like meddling in things like that, muttered Gerald, but I've got no choice. What's the merchant ambassador's name? Beau Barant. The Witcher thought that Sheridan grimaced as he pronounced the name. Oh well, it really is your only hope, or rather, the only hope for that poor fellow moaning on the bed. But whether the sorceress will want to help you, I don't know. Be careful when you go there, said Erdal. The mayor's spies are watching the house. You know what to do if they stop you. Money opens all doors. I'll go as soon as they open the gates. What's the sorceress called? Gerald thought he detected a slight flush on Sheridan's expressive face, but it could have been the glow from the fire in the hearth. Yennefer of Vegerberg. And we'll stop it there for today. So that was the first two parts of the short story, The Last Wish. And from there, Geralt will be headed into town to talk to Yennefer, which, if you're familiar with the stories, is a rather important character. So I'll see you again for the next grown-up story time. Hopefully you enjoyed that and will want to know more. Thank you very much. Bye.